This is Barbara Ellistad with Mesquite Citizen Journal, and we are really happy and delighted to be here with Andy Barton today. He's the new city manager for Mesquite. He's been on the job about 4 days, so obviously one of your first priorities is to have to sit down and talk to the press.
Okay.
So
happy to do so.
What we're going to do basically, Andy, is just kind of chat. You've only been here 4 days, so there's not a lot of trick questions I guess I can ask you. But what I'd like to do is, because this is the first time that a lot of people in Mesquite are going to have an opportunity to even see you. So tell us a little bit about your background and how you ended up in applying for the position of city manager for Mesquite.
Should be happy to. Originally a Massachusetts native, went to undergraduate college in Florida, the University of South Florida in Tampa, undergraduate degree in English. From there, went to work in 1974, my first government job with the Social Security Administration in Baltimore, Maryland. Was there for about 3.5 years, and then was transferred and promoted to a job in Seattle with Medicare Region 10, working in the end-stage renal disease program for Medicare. From there, made a big leap, went to work in Anchorage, Alaska for the Alaska Public Offices Commission. I did this in 1979, 1980. This was the state agency responsible for regulating conflict of interest statements. We regulated lobbying, and we regulated campaign disclosure statements for both state and municipal races. Did that for a couple of years. From there, I found my way back to Seattle after doing a bit of traveling. Enrolled in graduate school, picked up a master's degree in business administration, and went to work for the city of Bellevue. Bellevue is a city of about 110,000.
Oh gosh.
About 6 miles east of Seattle. Went to work in their finance department. Was offered a job as a staff accountant there, but decided instead, at a time when most people would be in mid-career, to take a job as an intern in the city manager's office in the adjoining town of Kirkland, which is a town of about 45,000, just north of Bellevue.
Okay.
I went to work as a $5 an hour intern, and I did this because I really wanted to get into city management.
Is that about how much we're paying you here in Mesquite?
A little bit more than that, for sure.
Okay.
Within a couple of months, I was offered a position as a management assistant, worked my way up to assistant manager. While I was there, I was in Kirkland for 13 years. While I was there, I also picked up a second master's in public administration, which is really the appropriate degree for my profession.
Mm-hmm.
In Kirkland, in addition to the assistant manager title, I did a number of other things. I was the intergovernmental relations coordinator, recycling coordinator. I did a number of other jobs, and probably one of the most time-consuming and more interesting jobs I had was as the city ombudsman, and did a lot with complaint resolution. It was a very good experience for me career-wise.
That'll work well here in Mesquite too.
Well, what it taught, I found out very early in doing that job that I never could learn anything by listening to myself speak. So I developed a capacity and a desire to listen to others and not to be judgmental, just to listen to hear what they had to say. And it was a good experience, and it was good training for being a city manager. After my time in Kirkland, and after a couple of decades with all but 70 days a year with sunshine, a lot of rain in Seattle, I took a job as a deputy manager in Florida on Amelia Island, Florida, city of Fernandina Beach. started as deputy manager there. Within a couple of months, I was city manager. My boss was in trouble. When I got there, they offered me the position of interim when he departed, and then they offered me the position. I had never thought too much about being a city manager. I thought maybe assistant would be okay. But what I found is after all of my years of training and experience that it was a natural transition for me to make. I was comfortable doing that.
Okay.
After my time in Fernandina, I went into the private sector for close to 7 years. And my ex-spouse was a physician. I managed her medical practice for a number of years. She practiced in South Florida and also in Idaho Falls, Idaho. I had a couple of other businesses that I ran while we were together. One was a personal training business and the other was a newsletter business. I wrote newsletters for new physician practices as a marketing tool.
Yeah.
When that marriage dissolved, I decided to get back into government work. I knew that I wanted to stay in the West. I was happiest there. I felt I was more in spirit a Westerner than an Easterner. And was offered a position as town administrator for Newcastle, Colorado. Newcastle is a smaller town, city of about 4,500, located on the western slope of the Rockies. It was about 40 miles north of Aspen and about 65 miles west of Vail. Beautiful town, beautiful community, nice area. I was there for 4 years, enjoyed my time there, but I remarried, and my wife found that the Colorado winters were very, very tough on her. She suffered from fibromyalgia, and we started looking about coming to a warmer climate. And maybe now is a good time to tell you my first experience with Mesquite. About 3 years ago, my wife and I were on a vacation in California, and we were driving back from Santa Barbara. We decided to spend the night in Mesquite. And we did, and I remember telling her at the time, this is a beautiful community. I would love to come and manage a city like this someday. Well, late last year, it was either late November or early December, I saw the position being advertised. Put in for it, was hoping for the best. Typically, these kinds of recruitment processes take a number of months, and it was, I think, early March before I actually heard from folks in Mesquite. I was both stunned and really pleased that I was going to get an interview. And when I came down here the day before the interview, toward the city, and I remember telling Kathy, my wife, I hope I get this. This is a beautiful community. I want to be a part of it. Fortunately, despite some very good competition, I was chosen as manager here. After my interview, came down here to find a place to live. We found a place and spent a little bit of time touring the community. And again, we just couldn't believe our good fortune in being able to come to Mesquite. It's a beautiful community. The people have been very friendly, very welcoming. I couldn't ask for a nicer way to start off. So, like I said, I'm very, very pleased to be here. I'm very proud to be a part of this community.
Well, everybody wants to know, where's your house at?
I live in Sun City.
Okay.
So, and love it there. It's great.
Yeah, it's beautiful over there. Okay. Okay, well, 4 days on the job, and you probably couldn't have come in at a tougher time. This is budget hearing week. You get to spend, well, we spent 4 hours last night and 4 hours again tonight, and then we get to do it again on Tuesday. Right. So it's kind of you're just being tossed right into the boiling water. But talk a little bit about what some of your goals are, not just for you as a city manager, and I know this is probably a tough question, but what would you like to see as goals for the city itself?
Well, I think I need a little bit more time to be able to get and know the city, and before I can, I think, come up with more global goals. I can tell you what some of my personal goals are. I think it's the duty of every civil servant to provide the best level of customer service that's possible. there are some constraints that we've had here. My understanding is we've lost 31 positions in the last 2 years. But I think the residents of Mesquite deserve to have the best level of customer service they can. Another thing that I think is very important is I feel that the more people who participate in the public process, the better that process is. The decision-making process is improved by having more people participate. One of the things I believe in is having an open door policy. Nobody needs an appointment to come in to see me. It's great if they want to make one, that would be fine. But if they want to stop by City Hall and talk to me on any subject at any time, I'm available for that. And I make myself...
Does that include news reporters?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Consider yourself formally invited. But I also make myself available to staff and to the council in the same manner too. If people want to talk to me, I'm more than happy to do it. I'm more than happy to listen. I can't give everybody what they want all the time. It's always wonderful to be able to say yes. But I promise that if people have an issue, they will be heard, and I will do my best to get an answer to them as quickly as possible. One way of, I guess, getting more folks involved is something I've done in 2 other communities. Coming to a council meeting, participating in a council meeting can be a daunting experience for people.
Yes.
Standing up at a podium, talking to people who are seated in the dais, knowing that they're being recorded, video and audio, can be a very intimidating experience. And I kind of like to lower that threshold a bit. I've done something in previous jobs called neighborhood council meetings, and in these instances, what we've done is we will go and meet in a particular neighborhood. I will take my department heads. Of course, the city council will be there as well. We'll meet in a school or auditorium, church, wherever is convenient. We will invite the folks from that neighborhood, and initially the meeting is one in which we talk about projects that pertain to that specific neighborhood, and then open it up to Q&A from people from the neighborhood. And anybody can attend these meetings. They don't have to be from that neighborhood, but the focus is on the neighborhood, and then the council will convene a regular meeting. What I find helpful about these meetings is that people are less intimidated and are more willing to open up and talk, and it makes government more accessible to them. This is something I've yet to talk about with my elected officials here, and I know they've done things like this in the past, and if they're willing, I would certainly like to do a couple of these things a year, 2 or 3 of them a year, to again lower the threshold of fear for participation.
Well, that's pretty innovative, because usually we have to come to City Hall to meet. So that's kind of an innovative idea, that you would go out to the neighborhoods.
Well, I think it doesn't hurt to have a roadshow, and I would be surprised. I mean, I don't want to speak on behalf of my city council. I'd be surprised if they weren't interested in doing it. It would be a little bit different.
I'll write them up if they say no.
It takes a little bit of prep time. People need to be invited. There's a kind of a direct marketing way of doing that. Direct mail invitations to do it seems to work best. You usually don't get a tremendous crowd, but again, you do attract some people, and again, the more people who are involved in the process, the better the end product is. One of the other things, in talking about end product, and end product, of course, being policy by the city council. One of my jobs, one of the most important aspects of my job, my job is not to make policy. Staff's job is to provide council with the best information possible and recommendations upon which they can act to make the best policy decisions they can. So I don't see my job as one of making policy. I can make recommendations. That's as far as my duty goes. My duty is to make recommendations and to manage the town's resources. But I understand the difference between the legislative and executive branch of government. I'm on the executive branch of government. My bosses are in the legislative branch of government, and I understand that. And again, my job is to help support them and help them make informed policy decisions.
Okay. Talk a little bit about any kind of changes that you would like to see or that you would recommend to the council as far as your initial impressions of City Hall operations? Is there anything that just kind of jumped out at you the first week on the job?
I guess the short answer to that, Barb, is no.
Okay.
Nothing so far. I think I need to get a little bit more grounded here before I start making significant changes. I think I'd have to be here for a matter of weeks and possibly a matter of months before I can make an assessment. But I will be making an assessment. I certainly will taking a serious look at our operations. I'll be talking with the department heads. We'll be finding out what works. We'll be finding out what isn't working, and we'll try to fix those things that aren't working. Again, my intent is to provide the best services possible with the resources we have. One of the issues that I've been dealing with in my previous job is managing in a time of economic scarcity. The paradigm for the early part of my career had been growth management. Growth had not been a problem for most of my career, and I had worked in states where controlling growth and preserving quality of life was the paradigm. Not that quality of life isn't anymore. But what I found in the last 3 years especially, what is a very strong lesson to learn, is that a city needs commerce to survive. And practically every city in the nation has been hit hard. I am very fortunate coming to Mesquite. There has been wonderful stewardship of economic resource this year. We were able to come up with a balanced general fund budget this year, which I think was great. A couple of weeks ago it was not balanced, and Debbie Cardenas, our finance director, who's only been here 6 weeks, has worked very well with the staff to come up with a proposed balanced budget. That is a wonderful thing to walk into, trust me, as a manager, as opposed to walking into a horrible deficit.
Yeah, that makes it a little easier coming out of the chute.
The other thing, of course, is that this city has a healthy amount in general fund reserves, which is also good, because if something unanticipated comes up, you're able to address it. So, but the issue of doing more with fewer people has been something that I'm familiar with. I lost 20% of my staff in Newcastle over the last 3 years, and lost more than half of my general fund operating budget over that same period of time, and yet was still able to, with great difficulty, but was able to provide core services. And I'm happy to say it appears that we're going to be able to do that here. We're not proposing that any positions be cut this year. We're not, even more importantly, we're not proposing that any services to Mesquite residents be cut either. And I'm very, very, very happy to be able to report that. So kudos to the people who managed previous to me. Kudos to my existing council and previous councils for making good economic decisions and keeping this city on sound financial footing. Nevertheless, we still have to watch our resources, and many of the things that I would like to do are going to be tempered by financial reality.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Talk a little bit on a personal note. You mentioned your wife, and I understand she's involved in the arts, or wants to be involved in the arts community.
Kathy has a wonderful artistic flair. She paints, she's creative, she has all of those wonderful capabilities that I don't have. And my understanding is she wants to be a volunteer for the arts, and I'm happy that for her and for the people that she's going to be volunteering for, that's going to happen.
Now, do you play golf by any chance?
Interestingly enough, I neither golf nor gamble.
Okay.
Which seems.
Because I was hoping to do some of these interviews on the golf course, so I could at least see what it looks like.
I have found other ways to humiliate myself in public, so golfing is not one of them at this point. But no, I don't golf.
Okay.